So what happens is that physicality and matter gets recontextualized as spirit or divinity. Why is it divinity? Why is it spirit? This will puzzle many people who have not experienced this. And I don't know if I can help to really explain it, because spirit and divinity are the best terms for it. Literally, it is spirit, it is divinity. So as it turns out, what divinity is not some metaphor. And it's not some stuff that some religious people made up because they were fundamentalists and dogmatic ideologues. Divinity is what happens when the knob of consciousness gets cranked up to 1,000 or 100,000. The more it gets cranked up, the more you recognize that everything that's happening here is divine. What does that really mean? I'm struggling for words to explain it. Well, what you realize is that experience, the raw qualia of experience, is absolute truth. It actually never was an experience. It just simply always was absolute truth. And when you realize the absoluteness of raw experience, it gets recontextualized as something that used to be temporal, from something that used to be temporal into something that is now eternal. Literally, what you become conscious of is that this qualia, the phenomenal experience that you're having right now, this present moment of this room, of that coffee table, of your hands, or whatever else you're looking at, it's happening in eternity. It's not happening through time. It's eternal. It exists eternally in the mind of God. And so what happens is that all of these colors and sounds and feelings that you usually experience and attribute to biological processes in a human creature organism, all of that gets wiped away, and you realize that actually all of this is the light of God. It's God shining through itself to itself. It's the mind of God self-illuminated. And color and sound and all sensation, the entire phenomenal manifold of your five senses, gets recontextualized, and you realize it for what it really is, which is pure magic. It's acausal. There's no scientific cause behind it. There's no cause and effect. There's no chain of causation that led up to it. There's no physical laws. There's no evolution. There's no history. There's no mathematics. There's no computer simulation. It's pure amechanical magic. It's pure manifestation. Mind manifesting itself instantaneously. The mind of God. And then if your knob gets cranked up a little bit deeper, a little bit higher, and your awareness goes from looking out at the room more inwards towards the center of who you are, the observer of this room, what you realize then is you have the I am God awakening. You realize that you are God. So first you realize that the room is God, and then when you turn that in towards yourself, then you kind of ask yourself, well, what am I in relation to the room? You realize, oh, yes, the room is God, but the room is me, and I am therefore God. And there's a very distinct couple of insights that you get here. One is, first of all, you realize for the first time in your life that God is real. You realize what God is instantly. Like within less than a millisecond, you have a complete, well, I wouldn't say complete, but you finally have a recognition that God exists. Not as a belief, or a speculation or a philosophical postulate, but God, right here, right now, right before you. You're face to face with God. You have an instant comprehension and intuition that God is real. And now you finally understand what the word God refers to. So for your entire life, people have been using the word God, and you sort of understood what it means intellectually, but you had no idea until this precise moment. And some switch was flipped. And right as that switch was flipped, now finally you understand what the word God was pointing to. That's a huge epiphany. That's a life changer right there. So that's your first time ever discovering that God is real. But just because that switch was flipped doesn't mean that you yet understand that you are God. That goes a little bit deeper. That requires a little bit more consciousness and actually a little bit more facing of yourself, because there's a wall of denial between God and you that prevents you from accepting yourself as God. So a lot of people can have a mystical experience of God as other, something out there beyond. But they'll never connect the dot between themselves and what that other is, which means that they're not fully awake. But if we crank the consciousness up some more, and we also lower your defenses and denials, that wall of denial, then you realize and you turn inwards, you take that awakened consciousness and you turn inwards, you realize, oh, of course I'm God. Not just a part of God. See, again, people are so in denial about the fact that they are God that they might even then say, oh, yeah, Leo, I'm a part of God. Sure, maybe. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you are the entire God. The God. Not a subset of God, not a part of God, not a toenail of God. The entire fucking God. And it's only when you fully embrace that do you really understand what God is, what you are, and only then would I say you're truly awake. Until you reach this point, you're not fully awake. And at this point, it feels very much like the universe has awoken to itself. For the first time in your experience, you, as the universe, realize you are the entire universe. And you always have been. And that you were just dreaming that you were human. And when that happens, your reaction is probably something along the lines of, if you're like me, oh, like, whoa, now I understand. Now I really understand what's going on. See, you had no clue what the universe was up to, what the universe was, what life was. You had no clue what these things were until this moment. Only now do you understand, does it all make sense? All the pieces of life and existence finally fit together. And now you finally understand everything that's been going on. You finally see the game that was being played here, the cosmic game that God was playing with itself, dreaming itself into a human existence.